All right, my friends, welcome back to the Reisinger build. That's right, we've been building this house in partnership with our friends at Builders FirstSource. We're in the trim stage. Hopefully you've watched all the prior episodes. If not, roll back the clock. This is one of my favorite stages, although this is a hard stage to film because it takes so long when you've got a really good finish crew. We really take our time on the craftsmanship and the details. So on this episode, we're gonna get into what are we using for trim, what's our pocket door situation, we're gonna give you some tips and tricks for installing, and we've got kind of an interesting design on this house when it comes to interiors. We're going for what I would call transitional. It's not modern, it's not traditional, we're kind of transitioning between classical styles. With that being said, the Reisinger build trim and door episode, let's get going.
A Build Original series in partnership with Builders FirstSource. The Reisinger build.
Okay guys, so let's start here in the study. We're right off the foyer. A couple things that I want to mention right here, and actually I'm going to peel back the floor. The first thing that you're going to notice that might be a little bit different than what you've seen in the past is we've installed our hardwood floors first. Now this happens to be a pre-finished floor, so we've done a really good job of covering, making sure that basically nobody's getting anything dirty. So we've got our ram board down, everything's fully covered in here, but the reason why we do that is you're gonna notice right here, our baseboard is dropping right onto the hardwoods, and that eliminates the need to do an additional molding. You know, those kind of half-round moldings you see in older houses or maybe scribe moldings. This is a nice clean joint. All we'll do is tape that, and the painter is going to put maybe a little bit of a caulking joint in there. Other than that, nothing needs to be done. Now you're noticing the base and the casing pretty minimal here. This is a poplar material. I'll show you the material in the other room here. And this is not a pre-prime material. I do like pre-primed when we can get it, but in this case we opted for poplar, and we're going for kind of a minimal. I mentioned this is a transitional design on the house, meaning it's not a full, you know, big base with a secondary molding on top. It's really kind of a thinner base. It gives it more of a modern style. Now, one thing that's unique about this house, we got a lot of pocket doors. We use the Eclise pocket door system. And another thing that you might not realize order-wise that I want to make mention of is just like we put these hardwood floors down first and then did the trim on the house, you really want to make sure that you're bringing your finish carpenter in early. Prior to that happening, we brought the finish carpenters in to install all of our Eclise pocket doors, right? The rough in on those doors. And then these are the actual pocket doors themselves. You can see this is that Eclise hardware that gets mounted on the top. I really like to use a nice solid core door. Almost any door, even if it wasn't solid core, would have a nice strip of pine or another dense wood at the top, maybe poplar here, so that we get lots of meat for those screws to go into. And then something that's a little bit different that I wanted to mention, we didn't use the Eclise door bottom. We actually make our own, and that's what you're seeing with this routed channel in this block here. Let me actually cut to a day or two ago when I showed a little detail on how we were doing that. Okay, y'all, here's a little pocket door tip. We typically don't like the bottom track holder that comes from the manufacturer. No matter the manufacturer, I'm not really digging on this particular manufacturer. This is the system we've come up with that we've used for years now, and Jorge designed this himself. So what you're looking at here is just an aluminum rod. You buy this in a long piece, cut it down into these sizes, use some sandpaper around the edges. Then we route a slot on the bottom of the door right here. So this is right in the center of the door, and you're going to notice that this piece here is actually permanently attached. This is the side of the door that actually goes into the pocket. And then when we drill this and glue it into the subfloor, this guides the door in this slot. And you're going to notice that we didn't, we've left this little piece of wood right here so that when that thing stops, it'll end up stopping about right here. It won't break this out. But as I slide this door this direction, which is actually opening the door, right? So now the door's in the open position. This pin is gonna end up being like right about here. And if I didn't have this back piece of wood, it's possible if that door extended too far, it could come out. This pin could come out of the slot. So that's why the little poplar extension on the back here. Really straightforward, really cheap, but that's the value of having a really smart finish carpenter on the job. Okay, so next up, let's talk about trim. So this is our kind of repository of all the trim from our guys at Builders FirstSource. We're really trying to get as long a lengths as possible so that we don't have to do splices or scarf joints in these big rooms. And we're here in the family room, and like if you look at that wall opposite to me, that's one board all the way across. We did have to make a joint because that's wider than 16 feet. But ideally, we want to try and get as much 16-foot trim as possible. Now, BFS also did something a little bit different for us. This baseboard, we actually thinned it down. They planed it for us to be 5/8 in terms of total thickness. And then all of our casings that you're going to see on the doors are a true 3/4. And that allows us to have just a little bit of a joint between those two. And you can see that right here. This 5/8 thick base is dying into this 3/4 thick casing. And we've got about an 1/8 of an inch gap here, or not gap, we've got an 1/8 inch overhang, let's say. I don't like to do these flush. Flush can be a real problem with the painters. It's a joint that's gonna crack. So we purposely made that difference in sizing and thickness to make sure that you could kind of see that and express that joint, is what the architects call it. I like that. That's a detail we've done a lot over the years. And then I actually can't remember, I believe this is a 3-inch wide flat casing. Guys did a nice job of just making this slight extension jamb. This turned out real nice. You know, I'm actually not a fan of mulling windows together from the factory, meaning the windows are actually joined together as individual windows. What I prefer is what we've got going on here and going on upstairs, where there's actually some framing and structure in between. And the guys did a real nice job of capping this. So if I wanted to make this look like one big window unit, I probably could paint this black and kind of have everything, I don't know, grouped together. I like this better. I think we'll paint this white, and then the black windows will kind of disappear as you look through them. But that would be one tip from the window ordering standpoint. So I've got 2 or maybe even 3 2x4s here. And then if you were to look at the upstairs windows, and we go upstairs in a second, you'll see the same exact scenario. Let's actually go upstairs. There's one area up there that I think is particularly, well, before we do that, let's actually show you a couple things downstairs. This closet, we've got all our shelving in place, and we're doing kind of a basic shelving package. You're gonna notice that we've got a true plywood shelf with a poplar front. We've got a nice hardwood cleat going on the inside there, so that'll be some really good shelving space. Now, one thing we didn't do that I think is kind of interesting when it comes to trim, walk back this way, you don't get to see it. It's kind of fun that I got my Lego on the RAM board, isn't it? When we walk into this master closet or primary closet, whatever you want to call it, what you don't see in here is any shelving material. Now, we purposely did that. When it comes to your master bath, your primary bath, primary closet, I think that homeowners, especially folks that are buying a nice custom home, want to really customize it. And I got to tell you, from my experience over the years, we've customized a lot of closets. We've had cabinet makers do a lot of closets. My own personal build a couple years ago, I used California Closets. No affiliation with them. They've never paid us a dime for sponsorship. But I used them to design my closet, which is about this exact same space size. And I absolutely love it. They did a fabulous job designing. I know there's also a lot of other local companies that do a similar, their Closets R Us, Closets by Design, and all kinds of places around the country. I think there's a lot of value to that for a closet like this. So all we've done is put baseboard down. You can see we've got our base down here. Sorry, I'm stepping on the tile, Mr. Tile Guy, but base is the only thing that's in here. The room is totally blank other than that, which I really like. I think that's a benefit. I don't have a buyer here yet on this house, so we're gonna let whoever buys this house really customize that process. With that being said, let's cut here and go upstairs. We'll show you a couple cool things up there. All right, quick tour of the upstairs, man. We are nearly done up here. This is what I was talking about downstairs. These are those mulled windows that we were referring to right here. Look how nice that looks. They're not mulled, right? These were individual windows, and this has structure in between. But once the trim guys got this all trimmed together, don't they look nice? I really like that. I think it's a better install personally, and this looks fabulous. Let me show you the pocket doors though. That's a bit of the star of the show on this house. This is that Eclise pocket door system. I've got no hardware on yet. Obviously, we won't put hardware on until they come on. This is a little quick tip for you if you haven't seen this before. Use a little blue tape and just put it on a U shape like this. That way when the door is closed, you can grab it. If you don't have the hardware on, it's really hard to get the door out. You're either trying to get on a ladder and grab the top or the bottom. But boy, these pocket doors turned out real nice. And look at those jambs the guys made for them. They're real smooth. I'm real happy with that. That looks great. I also really like this door design, this kind of 2-panel design. Kind of a classic look. They're solid core. They look great. Now this will have soft close and soft open. We got to adjust them later. The soft close is not quite there yet, but the soft open is. Check that out. Just slowly drops back into the pocket, not slammed. And this is the second one. Let's try this one, see how it looks. I didn't give it enough force, sorry. One more second. All right, here we go. Yeah, that's nice. That looks really good. That one's adjusted well. This one needs just a little adjustment. So they'll soft close both directions. Now something else I want to mention, this is the 2 upstairs bedrooms, which are similar. They have this walk-through closet design, and we did kind of a simple design in here. We didn't want to spend a ton of money knowing that someone might do something different. So you just have a shelf and a rod on one side, shelf and a rod on the other side. And when you look up that Facro door that we put in there, that pull-down stair, the guys did a perfect job orienting that so when it's down, it goes straight through this pocket door. Still have a little ways to go on tile in here, and a little bit more trim to go, but gosh, we are just a few days really from starting the paint phase, guys. Stay tuned. We got a lot more to go in this house to finish it up, and I really want to spend some time with you talking about commissioning mechanicals. So, when we come back, we're going to talk about paint, and then we're going to have final electric and commissioning, and then punch out and race to finish. So we are not far from being done here over at the Reisinger build. Mossy Meadows, maybe 60 days from certificate occupancy completion. It's not going to be very long. So we'll jump into those details in the next episode. I wanted to give you a brief walkthrough, kind of a shorter episode on the trim. You guys have been around this world, and there wasn't a whole lot of fanciness in this house, really for budget reasons. We were trying to keep the budget as modest as possible to make a great, well-built house, but not go overboard on trim everywhere. With that being said, guys, big thanks to our friends at Builders FirstSource, and specifically Eclise, who sponsored today's episode. Make sure you catch up on the past episodes, and big thanks to Builders FirstSource for sponsoring. We'll see you next time on the Reisinger Build.